In the court of the Chaos King, what he says does not mean a thing, as it's never the truth that rings out. And without a doubt, you should always doubt whatever passes his lips to your ears, as that's how he feeds your fears. And what you should fear the most in the court of the Chaos King, where you find some doing their thing, and that thing is to make themselves rich at the expense of all others, via bait and switch. They promise change without a glitch when they make their political and religious pitch, and then they'll run everyone else straight into the ditch. In the court of the Chaos King, what he says never means a thing, as it's all smoke and mirrors to stoke you anger by feeding your fears of the others, always the others, the ones Jesus told you to treat as sisters and brothers. And that's what you should fear the most, but that'll only happen if you wake up to the facts. In the court of the Chaos King, what he says never means a thing, as it's all smoke and mirrors to stoke you anger by feeding your fears of the others, always the others, the ones Jesus told you to treat as sisters and brothers. And that's what you should fear the most, but that'll only happen if you wake up to the facts. They think they're the best, better than the rest, but they don't think straight, and they're willing to wait for relief that will never come. Come on, man, because when comes right down to it, they're just RFS. They live in some deep delusion, for they've reached a crazy conclusion that those who have demonstrated the most greed will suddenly heed their terrible plight and their calls and pleadings. They certainly have not learned from the past that they ever had a fighting chance of getting help from those who've not ever taken a glance at them. They are not your friends. So how did this all come about? And why do they not doubt all the empty promises of the recent past, when they need to learn real fast who is really on the side and who is not? They certainly have not learned from the recent past that they never had a single fighting chance of getting help from those who will never glance see how they might help. They are not your friends. So whatever can be done when they can't see it straight for what it is and what it ain't? Or do we have to wait until they're completely broken? Are they just too RFS? And will they ever come to rest still with the truth that's in their face? Or will their egos not let them? If they're just way too RFS, you can figure out the rest. And if you can't, you just might be RFS yourself.
There are way too many today who thinks they have some right to say, who can have the freedom to vote and who cannot. Some say it should only be those with property, saying what you'd expect from Nepo babies who were handed everything at birth, including their freedom for free. That's not me. I earned mine in the US Navy. If we were to limit who are free to vote, then it's an easy choice for me. It'd be limited to those who serve in the US military. For they're earned it when no others have. They have protected our freedoms across the land when others were further back than the gear in the rear. Avoiding service with their doctor's note of their fake bone spurs. For some have earned it when few others have. They have protected our freedoms across the land when others were further back than the gear in the rear. Avoiding service with their doctor's note of their fake bone spurs. Now there are others who have also served our nation for the benefit of others and not just themselves. You can sometimes pick them out of a crowd, for they are not bragging about it at all. They found another way to answer the call, to serve others first and themselves last, as they were taught by the words of others, ignoring their actions which just didn't match. They served others and not just themselves. They served others and not just themselves. And they don't shout about as others not deserving sometimes do. For some have earned it when no others have. They have protected our freedoms across the land when others were further back than the gear in the rear. And you know who I am talking about.
can't look me in the eye after I saw you telling lies and directing all your blame on those too weak and lame to respond to your nonsense. You can't look me in the eye after I called you out for telling lies, as you seek to distract all from your failure to heed the call of your Savior. You can't look anyone in the eye after we all heard you repeating lies and caught you feeding your greed and not sharing what others need that you've hoarded in abundance. You can't look me in the eye after I called you out for telling lies, for you don't intend to ever stop and change in your scramble up the hill of fortune and fame, which leads to infamy for you, not me. I'm unwilling to play your game in your relentless pursuit of fame and fortune, for I see the shame you've gained for all the misery and pain you've caused others. You can't look anyone in the eye after we all heard you repeating lies and caught you feeding your greed and not sharing what others need that you've hoarded in abundance. I'm tired of all your lies, so very tired. You cared of all your lies, so very tired. It really grates on me every time I hear you, when you talk out of both sides of your mouth, when most of your words don't square with your actions or the nonsense you continually shout about. And as far as I am concerned, there are just two types of excuses. You've got your poor excuses, that's one. And then two, those other damned excuses. How is it that it can be you don't see or hear your hypocrisy and your continuous inconsistency with what you've been taught that you sometimes shout about. And as far as I am concerned, there are just two types of excuses. One, you've got your poor excuses, and then two,
just damned excuses. You've lost all credibility with me and others who also so plainly see that your only consistency is your hypocrisy. So as far as we all are concerned, there are really just two types of excuses. One, you've got all your poor excuses, and then two, all the rest are just damned excuses. You simply cannot be excused with all your abuses and your weak excuses for your inconsistency that all can see. If they take a hard look and don't buy your excuses, it's so sad that you've abandoned what we all once held so dear. Was that truth might lead to justice for all, for one and all, one and all. It's so sad that you've abandoned what your Bible calls for quite clear: to feed and clothe the poor and heal the sick. But now you'd rather feed the rich and their insatiable greed. It's so sad that you've abandoned what you might hear on Sunday morning, unless you preachers slanted his views to fit the narratives of the rich deacons who hire and fire at will. But that's not his will, that's theirs. It's so sad that you've abandoned what your Bible calls for quite clear: to feed and clothe the poor and heal the sick. But now you'd rather feed the rich and their insatiable greed. So your minds have all been channeled to serve the rich and not the poor, as they hold out to you some vague promise that you too could someday join them in the pews, in the very front rows. It's so sad that you've abandoned what your Bible calls for quite clear: to feed and clothe the poor and heal the sick. Who you've now abandoned and turned your back on, to align yourself with those promoting their prosperity gospel, and do the opposite of what Jesus taught.
When it comes to battle, hate, and greed, you might occasionally drive it underground, where it will continue to breed. For it's the war over scarce resources that aren't necessarily scarce. The fight will never ever be over when it comes to battling some people's greed and hate. For they'll hoard all they can and then try to steal the rest, because they're better than the rest in their own minds. The fight will never ever be over, so don't succumb to all the hate and greed. Fight for what you need and fight for the others who can't always fight for themselves, as they are too poor and weak to find someone to fight and speak for their needs. The fight will never ever be over when it comes to fighting so much greed and hate. When people turn on their sisters and brothers for what they seek to gain, they'll dish out pain. So at times you must choose sides and be counted on to help those less fortunate, and stand up to fight and speak for what they need, as you've been commanded to do by you know who. As you've been commanded to do by you know who. I've got zero sympathy for your total lack of empathy for those way below you on the totem pole, who you'd keep deep in a hole of abject misery. It's a long, sad history of what's been done to them by those who have been commanded to treat them so much better. And when the tables eventually are turned and it's your turn, be the one burned, don't come crying to me about your misery. It's a damn long, sad, sad history of what you've done to them and to me, demonstrating your lack of empathy. So I have got zero empathy for thee and thy plight, nor will I ever fight to set you free from your moral misery, but join in your side, for I just can't abide your lack of empathy. So I've got zero empathy for you. And when the tables eventually are turned and it's your turn, be the one burned, don't come crying to me about your misery. It's a damn long, sad, sad history of what you've done to them and to me, demonstrating your lack of empathy. I'm just treating you as you wish to be treated, using the example of how you've treated others. When the tables eventually are turned and it's your turn, be the one burned, don't come crying to me about your misery. and to me. Demonstrating your lack of empathy.